Okay, everybody. So thanks very much indeed. I'm going to chair this panel. It's a very big panel, but extraordinarily talented. I was just thinking, if this particular aeroplane went down, then project development in the power sector would be set back a lot of years in Africa. Of course, there'll be a lot of opportunities for everybody else to pick up, but we won't go there. So what the panel are going to do is they're going to talk about the investments that they have made and that they have in the pipeline, and they're going to tell us how they did it and what lessons they've learned. Each of them is going to be limited to 3 to 5 minutes, and the single thing I'm going to do is make you stick to that, gentlemen and ladies. I'll get out of the way and let them get on with it. So we have done incredibly well to keep within our timing, and we probably have a few minutes for questions. Is that correct, Barbara? So let's have some questions for our panel. Can you introduce yourself as you stand up and ask a question? You can direct it to a panel member, otherwise I will. So let's just give people a couple of minutes to digest. Barbara, you have a question?
I always have a question.
I know you do. That's why I asked you.
We know the project development process involves a lot of stakeholders, public and private. You've spoken about the whole life cycle, and we even have a great project lawyer on the panel. To what degree, and of course we have to build trust, so to what degree would it be helpful to have a coordinating platform that could help really bring some precision to the collaboration and a tracking methodology? You know, you all talk about time frames, we have to finish it. And I know SIS has this product called Source that some of the DFIs have bought into. But to what degree do you think that having some transparency between the deal team and the public sector would reinforce the accountability and also provide some pain points to the players that aren't participating? So that if you think about, you've got the political will, in theory, from the head of state, the minister, but then it falls apart in the factory. So that then when there's a problem, you can have a technical performance metric and a report, visualized, modern, that can be shown to the head of state and the minister and say, this is why your project isn't going. And then we could also integrate it in AU, heads of state, and whatever. Does that help or not?
Great, Barbara.
You direct it to whomever you want.
Right. That's a great idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just randomly selected Taz and Brian on the spot to think about that idea. But think about it for a couple of minutes because we have at least one more question.
Hello, my name is Solomon Asamoah from the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. All of you have developed projects. I'd like to ask a very specific question. Did any of you receive project preparation funding or support from a third party? And if you did, how did that work out? And secondly, do you have any suggestions how project preparation funding can be structured that would have helped your project the best possible way? Third-party project preparation.
Great, thanks, Solomon. That's a good question. Do we have one more? Okay, so Taz and Brian, I'm going to ask you to have a go at responding to Barbara's question. And then I'm going to ask each of the others.
Ladies first.
Okay. If ladies go first, you'll never get a chance, Brian. And then
Not always, though.
I'm going to ask each of the others to talk about the project preparation facility.
Okay. I mean, I'll say why not, as long as it's not going to create another bureaucratic hurdle. But when it comes to the openness, I mean, we are all open anyway. Let me give you an example. The project we are almost completing in Ivory Coast, after the concession was awarded, actually we decided to have an open book type of manner with the government, because we knew that actually that's the only way. So what we did was, we explained to them what is the expectation of the investor, as a return. And all of us today in the room, we know what is the price of the debt. Nothing is secret anymore. Everything is in the internet. You can find the price of the power plant when you put the megawatt. So more or less, everybody knows the price of the project in any case. So we agreed with them, and we prepared the financial model. We came back with the tariff, and they didn't like it. It was expected, because we knew that they are going to compare the tariff with the gas immediately. But this was the first hydro IPP in the country. So basically we said, okay, we're going to go back and come back with a number of different scenarios, which we did. And then we find the common way, so through step-down tariff and also increasing the concession duration. So everything is anyway transparent. Today, I mean, in the world, people, they know how much we are making out of the project and what's the project cost and what's the cost of the financing of the project. So it's not an issue. But the only thing I would like to make sure that, it's going to be a useful tool. It will be used on the public sector side. And then secondly, I mean, it's not going to be another bureaucratic tool on our way. Because in any case, when you go and see anyone, you tell them why the project is not going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Taz. Brian, do you want to add to that?
Look, I think I would agree with Taz. I think, there's not a problem in transparency in these deals. It's more the negotiation of risk allocation. And I think we find ourselves more and more as equity caught between the lender's view of risk allocation and the government's view of risk allocation. I think governments sometimes feel they deserve a certain risk allocation that isn't appropriate to where the country stands today. But through the evolution of the 30 years or 20 years of construction and PPA, maybe they do achieve it. And conversely, I think the lender's box is still pretty rigid. And I think that's the challenge that we're finding more and more. Yeah, I mean, if the platform can accelerate those conversations, then it's very helpful. As far as a transparency perspective, I agree with Tess 100%. I think just real briefly on the project prep facility, because that's incredibly important to us. I mean, I think just yesterday it was announced USTDA provided us a grant study for a grid study in Kano State, where we're doing a solar project. As a developer, even with a group like Blackstone behind us, it's incredibly important to have access to that money, because the development is just so binary. So it's not about do you have access to money or don't you have access to money. It's, is this an appropriate place to put the opportunity cost of $1? Because you can put it anywhere. It doesn't have to be Africa, so I'm competing with other players outside of Africa, working directly with GE to co-develop. Again, not just the dollars, but the actual comfort of sitting there with GE and its larger machine. DBSA in Southern Africa, we've done project loan facilities where they're not grants, but they're at-risk loans. So effectively, they're taking equal risk with us, but at financial close, we pay those loans off. But if we don't hit it, then the risk is being taken. So I think as long as you think about project prep as true risk money, then it can be very successful. Should it be a grant or a loan? I don't think that's as consequential to the investor as the risk during development. That would be my advice.
Okay, thanks. And let's just run quickly through the panel's experience. So, Sunil, project preparation money, did you get some? Would you have liked it?
Look, on our side, we did not get any project on preparation money, and we didn't go looking for it. So, we have an allocated budget within our own organization, and we use that. I think it's relevant to a lot of developers in Africa. So I'm personally for it, but in our case, we never went ahead looking for it.
Right. Carlo?
Yes, we did. We went out. We couldn't find institutional money. We had very, very little of that. But what we did in the end, because of the very large size of the project, we knew how much we had to spend. And in project development, the more you spend, the less you spend. By that I mean you need very high-level expertise, very high-level legal advice. So you have to go for the top 3, top 4 companies worldwide to make your project credible and bankable, because that's what banks and financiers likes to see, that big name that has sort of signed off on that study. But so what we did, we went out on a private placement. We actually created a very detailed milestone list from the beginning of our project, where we are starting, right to financial close. And at various milestones, there was an increase in value of the share that we were selling. We started selling very small shares to private investors. We would hold talks like we're doing now. We would explain the project, the opportunity, very high risk, but they would have a high return. Let me give you just one example. One of our investors gave us, at very early stage of the project, when we were still in the wind reading, measurement readings of the project, he gave us $700,000. He decided to get out of the project about 6 months before we reached financial close, maybe 8 months. He cashed in $5.6 million out of the share value that he had invested $700,000 with. So, and therefore we have right now still those investors there. There are 48 of them. The smallest investor was 50,000 euros, and the largest is 700,000 dollars, sorry, that was invested. And therefore, all these, we have these 48 early shareholders in our company, and that's how we did it.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Vishal, so you inhabit this space in both provider and mobilizer and so on, yes?
Yeah, so look, I've had sort of a unique seat at the table of my past life as a BWC partner, where I was accessing some of this for clients, as well as in my new life as or not so new life at GE in terms of running a balance sheet play. And the sad reality of this question is it is actually very opaque, very difficult, and hard from a processing standpoint to access any manner of these facilities. It is not so today for me as a GE principal. So if you're a smaller developer, you don't know where to start to go get public sector assistance in this. And what Carlos is describing, this venture kind of private angel-looking funding, is actually very unique. But if you're talking about public sector preparation facilities and being able to access grant money from institutions, if you're a local developer, if you're a small, medium-sized developer, it would be opaque, it'll be too difficult, and the process will be never-ending with little chance of success. Sadly, it's not the case for larger corporates who don't actually need it. So there needs to be a shift in that narrative very quickly.
Yeah, good point, and very honest point. Kieran, so I guess everybody loves to fund lawyers, right?
It's the next thing next to godliness.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously, from a selfish perspective, we hope that this thing people can come up with some innovative ideas. It might help some of our way we structure our pricing on some of the deals for people. I think we certainly have experienced the need to look at our pricing arrangements, taking into account the project development costs that developers have, and either postpone the billing or a discounting arrangement or a forfeiture somewhere down the line. So that is certainly forcing, I think, the advisory sector to be more innovative and assist in some of the development risk.
Yeah, that's helpful, and it kind of aligns interests as well. Fred, last word there, I think, and then I suspect we should be wrapping up.
Yeah, we did, and actually this is a really important one for the story I was telling earlier. When we entered Mauritius, we entered with our own development funds to move the project through to contract. But at the point of contract, there's a sovereign fund within Mauritius that came in with project prep money that allowed us to move it to financial close, and more importantly, for us to move towards, because I didn't talk too much about the pipeline, but our pipeline right now is approaching $150 million in Mauritius as part of their expansionary plans. And a lot of that is because we established a very good relationship with the sovereign fund, which is it's a great way to, it helped us bridge a drastic change in government in 2014. We went from one government to a totally different government that completely kicked out everything. It helped us bridge that gap so that we were able to move into the new government and work effectively. And then it's really helped us quite a bit as we try to contribute capital and profits to the government of Mauritius through the sovereign fund. It helps the government of Mauritius support what we're trying to do as well. So it sort of resonates. So I think there's a lot of strategy behind this as you enter into a territory. If there's a way for you to partner with the government in a way that produces value for the people of the government, makes the politicians look good, makes the people healthier, I think it makes life a whole lot easier.
Great, and that's probably the answer that the CEO of a sovereign investment fund would want to hear, correct? If I let him talk, we'll never finish. Solomon, do you want to comment on that just finally, if we can get a microphone to him quickly? Okay, good. That's a relief for all of us. So, Barbara, I think we're wrapped up. I have to thank our panel. That was supremely well disciplined, guys. Project developers, you really set the bar very, very high there. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks to the audience.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.